What's up, people? I'm going to walk you through how to install Windows, set it up, and then back it up for the inevitable problems that all of us who've run Windows have had at one time or another. So anyway, let's start off with the system requirements for Windows, which I couldn't disagree with more. The processor is pretty much a non-issue. They're recommending a gigahertz processor. Most processors are multi-core at least a gigahertz. Then the RAM is a bit of a problem here because they severely underestimate the RAM that you should have. Now, this is probably fine. These minimum requirements, 1 gigabyte for the 32-bit architecture and 2 gigabytes for the 64-bit architecture. If you're going to sit there and play solitaire the whole time, if you're just going to sit there and play solitaire, these are probably fine requirements or minimum requirements. What you really need is 4 gigabytes of RAM. Just for an example, just to throw it out there, Chrome takes 1 gig itself. Just by itself, it's a pig. It takes up a lot of resources. I don't know why it's so aggressive. All the plugins and all the resources that thing takes. You need 1 gig just for Chrome by itself. The hard drive. The hard drive is 32 gigs minimum requirements from Microsoft. That's not true. You need at least 100 gigabytes. For example, the default install of Windows 10, I think, takes 10 gigabytes, if not 15. Then over time, the Windows installation inflates to a ridiculous 40 gigabytes to sometimes 60. I've seen Windows take almost 90 gigabytes. And it's just because Windows doesn't maintain itself very well. There's a lot of junk left in the temporary folders, temporary internet stuff. There's a lot of disk cleanup that Windows doesn't do automatically that you'll end up having to do yourself. So you need at least 100 gigs because Windows will easily inflate to 40 gigabytes. Most people have that. Most people have 500 gigabytes to a terabyte. So that's not usually an issue for people, but this minimum requirement is ridiculous. Then graphics, take it or leave it. And then the display, most people have a resolution of way higher than 800 by 600. So that's just where we start with the requirements. The thing that I think most people are going to have a problem with is 4 gigabytes. I can't imagine you not having 4 gigabytes, but some people have less. So now let's get beyond the requirements and get into where to get this installation of Windows. So I think this is the best page I've found for a great starting point to get all the versions of Windows you could possibly want. I'm sure that most people are happy with version 10. I don't know who the hell would go with version 8. 7, maybe you want to try 7 again. 7 was a great operating system. 8 was ridiculously terrible. And 10's where we are. So I'm going to go and demonstrate 10. And if we go to that 10 page, it's going to talk about a media creation tool, which is going to be where most people start. I'm going to demonstrate not only the media creation tool from Microsoft, I'm going to demonstrate Rufus and UNetbootin, or UNetbootin, which I have on the desktop right here. I'll put links to where to get those other media creation tools. Not only can you use those to install Windows, but you can also use them to install Linux. Okay, so let's go forward with the media creation tool. So we go to download tool now. And it's the version we're on is Media Creation Tool 2004. I already downloaded it, which is why it has that one next to the Media Creation Tool 2004. So I'll cancel this, but that's the tool you'll want to download. And then you'll want to run the tool after you have it downloaded. So let's get some USB media. So it's getting a few things ready. It's going to try to detect USB media, which I have not plugged in yet. So whenever you find the USB media that you're going to need, you plug it in when it asks, or you can plug it in any time actually. It's going to try to detect it. It's going to tell you it requires a minimum of 8 gigabytes on your USB media. I have a few USB drives that I'm going to use. I'm going to use one in this case, but the ones I have are 32 gigs, so that's going to be more than enough. And 8 gigs is a great place to start, and you can buy the 8 gig media probably for $5 or less. Okay, so now we have finally got to the next step, which is agree to the terms of service, and it's going to get a few things ready again. Now, one of the biggest reasons and the best reasons to create this media tool or this installation USB drive is because this is how you're going to repair Windows. Not only this is how you install Windows, but it's also how you repair Windows. So if you ever have a problem booting into Windows or something just not functioning properly, this utility or this particular USB drive is going to allow you to repair the entire installation. It's one of the things in Windows 7 I had a lot of problems with, where I wasn't able to boot every once in a while. I don't know why it happened. It wasn't like I installed anything new, but I wasn't able to boot in some cases. And I would constantly have to use my CD to repair the Windows 7 installation. So that's one of the biggest reasons to have these kinds of drives lying around. You need to have a bootable drive that can boot into a Windows installation disk, which is also a Windows repair disk. Okay, so on to the next step. It's asking us if we want to upgrade this computer or if we want to create installation media, which is obviously what we want to do to install Windows. And it's just detecting what this computer already has on it. If you have something in mind that you want different than this, which is like you'd probably change the language or the architecture. And then we have a USB flash drive, which is already plugged in, and it's detected it right away. And it's the only drive I had plugged in. So now it's downloading Windows 10. Then it's going to verify Windows 10. And then it's going to tell me that the USB drive is ready to go. Okay, so now that the Windows Media Creation tool has finished creating the bootable USB drive, we can click Finish on this. Let's eject this. We can safely remove this. And just as an option, I wanted to show you a couple different other media creation tools. If you already had ISO file of Windows 7, 8, or 10, any version of Windows, it could be Linux. And just to give you an alternative to the Windows or the Microsoft Media Creation tool, I'm going to show you these other two. So we just select the ISO file, wherever that might be. In this case, I put everything on the desktop for easy access. And then it's going to select the USB flash drive on the device, which is the top item. Then we select the ISO, and it's a standard Windows installation. Everything, all the defaults are fine because it detects what needs to be, what the settings need to be. Just warning us that all the data on the USB drive will be destroyed or erased, and yes, we understand that. So this has to be a USB drive that is free and clear of any important data. Okay, when it's finally finished, it will, let's see what it says. I just created the, please remember, to boot this media, you must disable secure boot. Fine. Finally, we got this media created, and I'm just going to demonstrate one more tool, which is the UNetbootin. Let's eject the USB drive we have in, and add our last USB drive for the third USB boot disk. All right. So it's basically the same idea here. It's asking for, oh, we don't want a distribution. Distribution would be if it was going to automatically download a distribution of Linux for you. So you have different options here that we're not going to be using. We have a disk image, which is the second option, second radio button. It's going to be an ISO, and we're going to select the image by clicking the three dots on the side there, going into the desktop, choosing our Windows ISO. It is a USB drive, and it is drive D, and hit OK. This should give me a warning, but it doesn't look like it's going to. So it's just going to wipe out the disk without any warning. Okay, so be careful of that. Anyway, as soon as this is finished creating this boot disk, this last boot disk, we're going to start the installation. Most everybody's going to be fine using the Windows Media Creation tool, but I just wanted to give a few more options, or a couple more options, so that you could understand how you would create a USB boot disk if you used a non-Windows type of ISO, like a Linux ISO. So this would work for Windows as well as Linux. But the Windows or the Microsoft Media Creation tool will only work for Windows 7, 8, and 10. So we'll see you when this is finished to install Windows.